Welcome! My name is Debbie and this is Pouring My Art Out for the Lord. So who's up for a quick and easy project? You can make use of your scraps. You can make some really beautiful little journal cards, tags, different things for your journals, and just a really rewarding project. So we're going to make these little journal cards today. And first of all, I want to tell you some really exciting news. I've been chosen to be on the design team of the Junk Journal Studio. Yay! So I'm really excited about that. I love her digital. She's got lots of fun, bright digital collections. And I'm really looking forward to working with her and working with her collections. So I thought I would just dive in and start playing with one of her collections and just make something fun. And throughout the month and the months I'll be making more projects using this collection and some of her other collections. So if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified when I do a project. So what we're going to do today is make these. And I had made these before in different, I have a video actually that I made using these paper dolls. So I have those, and these ones have some of my labels that are faith labels, but God and scripture reference. This was, and there's one that says Born Again. This was a project that we did in our membership group. And then this one is one that I turned into a tag shape. So I thought I would show you how to make those as well. And this was just one, it was a little bit larger one, same process, and I turned it into a mini journal cover. So just made a cute little mini journal, and oh, there's even another one here. So they're really fun to make, really quick and easy. It's a great mass make. It's a great way to spend an afternoon, and I chose to use as my collection this time from the Junk Journal Studio. I chose a collection called Summer's Bounty. And lots of people are going into fall right now, thinking of fall things, and I just want to hang on to summer a little bit longer. Sometimes in September we have some really beautiful days. We're farmers, so we harvest in September, October. My husband is actually harvesting right now, and are beginning to harvest. And so we collect the summer's bounty, and it's just a joyful time of year when it's transitioning. Summer's still here. We're starting to reap the rewards of our harvest in our gardens, in our fields, and we're looking forward to some beautiful autumn days. So with that said, I'm just going to well, I also have a cheat sheet on what I'm going to do, so I'm going to put this up at the end, and then you can take a screenshot if you like. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for now. So the first thing that you do is you need some card bases. So I have lots of 12 by 12 cardstock. If you don't have that, you can use anything. You can make these any size. But what I chose for this is I used a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and I cut it into 3 by 4 rectangles. So that gives me 12 rectangles. So this is a nice project to just make a dozen. So that was my first one. And then I have the second thing that you need is strips of paper. And the previous ones that I made, I used scraps, and this is a great use for scraps. But this time I really wanted to use the Summer's Bounty kit. So I have a selection of brights, the yellows, the greens, and the reds, and then some more muted tones. So I'm going to put a mixture into my cards of those. And then the second thing that I need is a focal image. So I printed and cut out a bunch of fussy cut images. She has so many images in this Summer's Bounty kits. It took me a long time just to even, well, I actually didn't even look through every single page, but just to look through a couple of pages to find what I kind of wanted for this project. But, watering cans, strawberries, and there's even some images I noticed that are fallish, like these ones, I cut those ones out. I cut some out on my Cricut, and I cut some fussy cuts, and probably the fussy cuts were were better. My Cricut, I don't know. Sometimes, you know, fussy cutting takes longer, but it's relaxing. And the Cricut is shorter, but sometimes it can be frustrating. So you pick how you want to cut them out. But anyways, there's some images that are fallish because it's summer's bounty. It reminds me of the end of summer, kind of through the summer and the end of summer. So we've got sunflowers, we've got mushrooms with kind of fall colors. There's a pumpkin. There's birds that are kind of the fall colors. And then we've got, I cut out a few that were not exactly the traditional fussy cut, but just kind of little images. I cut out some of the smaller images on some of the pages. This one might be too big. And then fussy cuts, there's some cherry pie, some blueberries or Saskatoons. In our neck of the woods, we call them Saskatoons usually. It's a different berry, but we have Saskatoons more frequently than we have blueberries here. This reminds me of a wild rose blossom. I'm not sure if that's what it is. There's a kind of like a canning jar, watering can, tomatoes. I have lots of tomatoes coming in right now. There's butterflies, there's beautiful roses and flowers and strawberry cake. So lots and lots and lots of beautiful images. There's bees, there's a bee and a sunflower. So lots and lots of beautiful images. So I cut out a few of those. And then the next thing that we need is a label. If you want to do it, you know, exactly like me, you can, of course, change it up however you like. I'm doing sort of a formula. I'm going to give you a little bit of a formula just so if you're a beginner or if you struggle with putting together kind of a little mini collage on a card, you can follow the formula and then get some ideas on how you can change it up to what you like. So quite a few of these were from Summer's Bounty. These ones that look like this, I actually got another kit from her, from the Junk Journal Studio. That's called All Things Red, and she's got all things red, all things blue, all things distressed, all things green, several different ones, and there's loads and loads of pages. I only printed out one page, and I actually only printed out I only cut out the first column. Here's one page from that kit, and there's several pages with just tons of things. I wanted the red focal point here. Here's some of the other pages that I started cutting out for the fussy cuts. These are some larger images, so if I make some larger cards or in a journal, those would be great. Those ones are a little bit smaller because I had to shrink them for my Cricut. And then I just took some of these, like there's postcards and tags, and so I just cut out some of the smaller images for this project. And then I actually printed this to a page because I want a little bit smaller sentiments. So I printed out, that was two whole pages there. Let me get the right thing off here. So anyways, I printed out this one page from the All Things Red. And then this was, there's a whole bunch of these price tags. There's words, accomplish, bountiful, bloom. This one has flowers on it. And then there's little sentiments. What you plant today, you'll harvest tomorrow. The beginning is the most important part of the work. Get your hands dirty. I like that one. Glorious is the warmth of the summer sun. So just lots of little bits and pieces, and I've got loads more to cut out if I don't find what I want here, or if I want to make more. So we have the base, our strips, we have our focal image, and we have this. And then usually behind there, I just add a little bit of texture. And you can make texture or have the illusion of texture just by having like book page, for instance. It's not really there so you can read the words, it's there for texture. So I have some coffee dyed, this is just a Bible page. I think this is maybe another Bible page, or just any kind of book page. This kind of thing is really neat texture. I have that on here. So anything, you know, with lines, things like that is texture. This is just a piece of kind of tracing paper, I guess, coffee dyed tracing paper perhaps. This is just some packing page, I think this is packing paper. You can have paper bags. This is just a piece of loosely woven fabric that I coffee dyed. Here's some cheesecloth in coffee dyed and white. Little scraps of lace. This was some interesting packing paper that I recently got in some dishes I think I got. So I've used that. I used that on some of my previous ones here, and I really like how that gives some neat texture in the background there. And then just bits of lace or trims or whatever. Oh, there's some apples. Are nice to have too. And I sewed around mine. If you don't want to sew, you don't have to sew. I'll tell you what you can do instead. And basically that's it. So let's get started. So I've just got a piece of scrap here that I can glue on. I'll grab one of my bases, and I'm just going to use glue stick. If you sew, glue stick is perfectly fine. If you don't want to sew, I probably would at least dot the corners with some art glitter glue or something like that, or even a little thin line all the way around. But I'm going to sew, so I don't need to do that. So I'm just going to start here and lay out my strips however I want. Really, there's no right and wrong to this. They look good kind of no matter what you do. The background really fades into the background, so to speak, which is what a background is supposed to do. This one I used fairly light ones. This one I'm going to get a little braver and add some brighter ones, so we'll see what happens with this one. A little more glue there. Too much talking and not enough paying attention. So there's a yellow one. She's also got journal pages and in this kit, and this is the extra papers kit, and then all the different embellishments and labels and cards and not cards, labels, ephemera, sentiments. So I think she's got them organized into 5 sort of sub-kits, so you don't have to get them all if you don't want them all. But they are all kind of meant to go together. And she's actually got, on her coffee shop, she has a couple of freebies that coordinate with this as well. So check that out too. So just glue those strips like that, and then I turn it over and I just trim these off. And then these long ones that I trim off, I'll just use again for the next card until they're too small to do something with. And I'll just trim off these edges here. So there's our first base. And then what I didn't actually tell you at the beginning, maybe you saw it on my sample, is I emboss this. And what the embossing does is it gives it another level of texture, which is really neat. And also, you noticed I didn't ink the edges of all of these, and that's really time consuming. But when you do it this way, when you emboss it, and then I'm going to ink over that top. I'll show you how to do that in a second. And it makes it so that you really don't have to ink the edges. It looks fabulous without. So, and it also, I think, maybe presses the glue in a little bit better to make it hold better. A trick I learned not that long ago, I've been embossing for years, not, you know, every day or anything, but I learned if you want the raised pattern on the front, which most of the time we do, then the part of the embossing folder that has the title, this is the Cuttlebug from Provocraft, you put it face up there. Does that make sense? So this is face up and this is face down. So if I did it this way, then the recessed parts would be on the top. If I want the design raised on the top, then I put it this way. So I'm just gonna go behind me, and I have my old Cuttlebug set up back there, and it's just easier for me not to bring everything here. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I ran that through my Cuttlebug, and you probably can't even really see it too much yet. But the next step is to do some inking. So I have Vintage Photo Distress ink here, which is my kind of go-to. And I'm just going to ink the edges. And I often ink the corners a little bit more, just kind of come in a little bit at the corners. And then I'm just going to really lightly rub over the pattern. And it's just going to kind of catch in some of those, not really even on the top so much, but now you can really see the pattern. So that's my base done. And then at this point, you could turn it into a tag if you want, or you can just leave it like a journal card. Maybe I'll make this into a tag shape just to show you how I do that. So I'm going to just do a 1/4 inch round on the bottom of my tag. You don't have to do that. And then I'm going to, you can just eyeball the top for the angles. You can, there's so many tricks to do this. You can do, cut off the edge of a card. I don't know if I have one quite handy here, but that's an easy way to do it as well. I just have that punch, so I use that. And then you can make a hole in the center, or I have this little slot punch from Stampin' Up! Years ago. And if you just make a little slot there, I think it just gives some neat interest to that point. So you want to shape your piece before you sew, because if you stitch and then you want to cut off the edge, the corners, it doesn't work very well. So there's my base. So I'm just going to go quickly sew, and I'll be right back. All right, so I just sewed around the edges there. I like to sometimes leave my tails of my threads, but you can put a little dot of glue and then cut that off later if you would rather do that. So then we need a little bit of texture base at the back. So this is just another layer of background. I'm just going to put a little bit of book page at the back. You don't have to ink the edges, but if you've got a little bit of kind of white showing on the edges, sometimes it's nice just to give that a little bit of an ink. So I just do I would say 1 to 3 kind of pieces of some background texture. And they can be different sizes, shapes, scraps, whatever you would like. And try to make it so that they all will show. So I'm just going to try to put 3 here. I'm going to put a little bit of this white cheesecloth. I didn't want too much because I don't want the white to kind of overpower everything. But something like that. So I have my, this is actually Elmer's Glue All, and I have this, and this is from Beacon, which makes the Fabri-Tac and the 3-in-1. And in my neck of the woods, I can purchase them sometimes, but they're really, really expensive. Like I'm talking $40 a bottle. And so I found this at the Dollar Tree, and it's for foam and poster board. But I thought, I had read somewhere that 3-in-1 and Fabri-Tac were very similar. So I thought, well, maybe this one's kind of similar too. So I've been using this for my fabric pieces, and actually it seems to work really well. So there's a little trick if you don't have access to Fabri-Tac, or access that's a reasonable price anyways. So because of the texture of the embossing, you can use art glitter glue, but sometimes it doesn't really seep into the crevices enough. So because I'm going to use this glue for the other pieces, I thought I'll just use it for that one as well. And then this I'm just going to dot here and there. When you're gluing these pieces on, they don't have to be, you know, solid edge to edge coverage or anything, just enough so that they're you know, stuck mainly. So I'm just going to kind of pull that apart a little bit. I might just rip a little bit off there. I think that's too much at the top there. So something like that. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of cheesecloth here. And kind of just sort of spread that out a little bit and poke that down in there. And then we want to find a focal image. That's our next step. So, just looking at my cheat sheet here. I did the inking before I did the stitching, and I wrote it the opposite order, but that's okay. So we have lots of things to choose from. I love this flower, but I think that's going to be too big for there. I think there's a smaller one as well. I don't know if I have it cut out or not. This is a nice flower. That's a little big too. We have a butterfly. Ooh, that would look good. I like that. These birds are nice too. That one is too big, but there's this one, which is smaller. I think I'm liking that butterfly now. And then there's these, you know, squarish pieces, and I think that would look great too. I probably would not put this in the center, the background part in the center if I was using that. That would look really good too, I think. Or sunflower. Mushrooms. I'm just showing you all the different, I think that would look really good too, there. Not all the different options, but so here's a one that is kind of a square shape, but not quite square, so I think that would look really cool too. And if you use something like this, instead of putting another word, because that's too many words, I would put, if you're going to put a accent, just something like that, 26 cents, that works great with the applesauce anyway. Or one of these that is not another word. Now that I saw this butterfly, I think I'm going to use this butterfly. So because I left a little bit of white border when I cut this out, I'm just going to ink those white edges so they're not quite as stark. And then because I'm putting this onto fabric, I'm going to use this glue again. And then we can pick a label. So we can use that sort of thing. That looks really good actually. We can have a number, I like that too. Glorious is the warmth of the summer sun. That looks nice. I think I'm going to use that one. So I think I'm going to, you know, and you can play. This is what this kind of projects are so much fun because you can make a bunch, and you know, if you have all these supplies kind of cut out and ready to go, it's just so much fun just to pick whichever sentiment, whichever image that you want, and then you have a really quick little tag, and I think they look fabulous. So there's our first two. There's the back. I guess I didn't ink the back of this one yet. Did I ink the front? Yeah, I inked the front. I didn't ink the back. I'm going to ink the back a little bit. So there's one that looks more like a tag. This is one that looks more like a journal card. So I'm just going to make a bunch more. Well, I'll probably make these 12, and then I'll show you what they look like at the end. I won't go through step by step on them, but I'll go through a flip through of all of the cards that I've made and just tell you a little bit of what I did if there's something different. And then I'll show you my my little cheat sheet at the end that you can take a picture of if you like. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, I finished all 12 of the cards and I'm really happy with them. I think they turned out great. So these are the two that, this is the first one that I made that I showed you, and this is the one that we made together. This one I had the 4 square corners, and this one I turned into a tag. You could also put a string on there at some point. So I just want to show you some of the other ones that I made. These are also tag shaped. So I have this one, and this one. This is a little more fallish looking one. And here's some more with square corners. So I have the butterfly and bee there, and another bee, and that great floral there. And this one I used a couple of ones that were squares, so I used this one and this one, and I think those ones turned out good too. I find it easier to work with the fussy cut ones on something like this, and these ones I rounded all 4 corners. So I have a sunflower there, I have a square and a butterfly and a wild rose blossom, I think that is there. Here's a mushroom with some cheesecloth and a little bit darker. I have to trim that off a little bit there. A mushroom. And here is a, I think I have to put a butterfly or something up there. There's a bit of an empty space. But there's vase watering can of flowers. So I really enjoyed this project. Really fun to do. I love the colors of this kit. Aren't they just beautiful? So if you're interested in this kit, I'll leave the link below to the Junk Journal Studio. It's called Summer's Bounty, and a few of them have the labels that are called All Things Red, and I'll link both those kits below. And as promised, here is a list of the steps that we went through to make these journal cards. So we cut the 3x4 rectangles, we cut or organized the strips for the base, we found our fussy cuts and labels, we gathered some scrap bits for texture, fiber, book page, paper bag, lace, whatever you have, different scraps. We glued the strips on the base. I used glue stick. We trimmed the ends of the strips. We embossed the journal card with the embossing folder, and you could round the corners or angle top corners for tag. I made 4 of each. Then I stitched around the journal card, inked front and back, and you also give a soft ink just over the whole front to bring out that texture of the embossing folder. And then embellish. You put some texture bits down, put a focal point down, and put a label down. And step number 12, admire and tuck into all your journals. So thanks for hanging in there with me, guys, and I hope you try this project. I think it is fabulous, and I hope you go over and check out the Junk Journal Studio. She's got some great kits over there, very colorful, but they just work well with the vintagey look as well. So head over there and check it out and try this project, and leave me a comment below if you enjoyed this project, if you have questions, if you'd like to see something else along this line. I'm gonna make a few more projects using the Summer's Bounty this month. So if you are interested in following those, please like and subscribe to the channel and you won't miss them. And we'll see you in the next video. Blessings.